Assalamu alaikum. As today is African Liberation Day, this song is dedicated for the unification of Africa. Africa, we should unite now or perish. We should unite now or perish.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for Africa.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for Africa.
We must unite Africa.
Patrice Lumumba, guess his life for Africa.
We must unite Africa.
America Cabral, has he not died for Africa?
We must unite Africa.
Samora Marcel, has he not died for unity?
We must unite Africa.
Stephen Biko, has he not died for liberation?
We must unite Africa.
Martin Luther, has he not died for integration?
We must unite Africa.
William D. Bois, has he not died for destiny?
We must unite Africa.
Malcolm X, has he not died for freedom?
We must unite Africa.
We should unite now or perish.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for democracy.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for our children.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for liberty.
We must unite Africa.
Eduardo Monde, sacrifice self for freedom.
We must unite Africa.
Sylvester Williams, sacrifice self for posterity.
We must unite Africa.
Zinga Gosi, sacrifice self for dignity.
We must unite Africa.
Marcos Garvey, sacrifice self for emancipation.
We must unite Africa.
Our Matthias, sacrifice for humanity.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for Africa.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for development.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for democracy.
We must unite Africa.
So if we unite, victory is certain for our children.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for our future.
We must unite Africa.
If we unite, victory is certain for our children.
We must unite Africa.
We must unite. We must unite.
Africa.
We must unite.
Africa.
We must unite Africa. The next song, as Joy is calling for transformative agenda, this song is about transformation. So we say, our transformation shall succeed. Our transformation shall succeed. dedication and determination, our transformation shall succeed. We have another Gambia in mind, the people can be in view. We have another Gambia in mind, a liberated Gambia in view. We have another Gambia in mind, a sovereign Gambia in view. Let's say no to exploitation, oppression and injustice too. Let's say no to exploitation, oppression and injustice too. We have another Gambia in mind, the women's Gambia in view. We have another Gambia in mind, the youth's Gambia in view. We have another Gambia in mind, a sovereign Gambian in view. Let's say no to exploitation, oppression and injustice too. Let's say no to exploitation, oppression and injustice too.
Thank you very much for those inspiring songs. We must unite, we must be organized to transform the Gambia and Africa at large. Without any more delay, we can call on Uncle Sam Sarr to give a brief statement. Allah baraka bake, thank you kumbayata. Ñu leena gërëm di leen santa. Way am nañ maana torop. Jërëjëf. Over to you, Uncle Sam.
Greetings to all of you. Good afternoon. Men, women, old and young. Today is an important day in this country. Not only for the party, but for this country. Because on this day, we are launching a manifesto, the manifesto of the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism. A manifesto is simply a promise. The program, the policies, the action plans that the party intends to execute if it is elected, if the presidential candidate of the party is elected. And that's why it is significant. It is significant in particular because the party is calling for system change. All these years, for decades. Since 1965, we've had various regimes. But the concern in particular has been how to borrow ideas, to copy from elsewhere, to experiment. No, that's not the way. We are not copycats. We are scientists. We have knowledgeable people. We analyze concrete situations, concrete conditions, and come with solutions. So, it is significant that this document, which we call our manifesto, be digested by every party member, by every activist, so that you'll be able to spread the message. Many people would say, oh, we associate ourselves to this particular party based on sentiments. We want every Gambian citizen to be sovereign. We want every Gambian to be able to analyze the situation in which we are and support the party on the basis of its program. We may talk about agriculture. We may talk about various aspects of the economy. The manifesto has addressed that problem. A situation which has eluded many. You've had many talking about commercialization of agriculture. Though we cannot continue to accept individual farmers using back-breaking tools such as the hoe, through which you produce very little and very little income and suffer a lot. So poverty will continue. And that's precisely what we want to overcome. We want to overcome poverty. We want to eradicate it. And there's no reason why we should continue in that path. Mechanization of agriculture is the way forward, not through commercialization. This is mechanization without tears. We're dealing with not only the economic situation, the political situation, how to empower the people. Social issues. How do we get women out of poverty? They are back-breaking toys. The youth. How to bring an end to the back way. Unemployment. All issues are addressed. Businesses are facing a lot of problems nowadays. And these issues have been treated by the manifesto. So, this manifesto provides solutions which accommodates everybody. All we need is to unite under this program and move ahead. one Gambia, one nation, one people. Thank you very much.
Jërëjëf Uncle Sam Sarr Inimbara Sam Sarr xam naa di ngeen ma jégal pour ma war a tànka lu Uncle Sam wax si olof dafa jël seen time waaye lu gën a am solo rek dafa laal tuuti si lu tax ñu am mbooloo bi mooy ne manifesto doy bi moom la ñoo transformative agenda moom la ñëw pour wane fii wane boobu noonu nag dige la du waxi kese rek kaddu yu wér la ñoo wane si manifesto boobu noonu bugguma see sori nag parce que bunta yu bari laan na ko loolu yëpp Halifa Sallah dina ko war a wax bu fekkee mu ngi present transformative agenda Uncle Sam la kumana sutiya kama doron bawo wato tata ta sayin kanna ay kuma jamal la ko men yalon ko o bebe sata la de Uncle Halifa Sallah la kumo kono na bala diamo dinda woto o kama nte jama fola woto ala barka mbe men commande la sayi wala mu Halifa Sallah ti ay don kunna dali lo ko mole mone ya ken doy pationi pati do fara dangeen ñoo jégal tuuti rek dafa am lu ñu war a defar fii den ko Halifa bu albe yam falanje me jang organize la me jang dadala ko fende la dila jang ni mo kedrom si Halifa ko mandi ko dal we are just trying to get organized here sort out the mics and then we will get Halifa.
Allô? Yahweh. Nanga ko gana place.
We are beginning a new journey. See here,
Jatta is in South Africa today, and he has sent his greetings because they have an emergency meeting of the Pan-African Parliament, and he cannot afford to be absent. And today, and that is why that parliament was established to be the voice of the continent. But if you don't have people there with the maturity that is necessary, the parliament will be a talking shop, a rubber stamp that will never ever carve a new destiny for our homeland. We are gathered here for ourselves. We must ask the question, why have we left everything to be present here today? Why are we here? I remember as a young man in America, listening to the songs of those who were enslaved. I cannot remember the words as they were sung, but I must try to tell you what motivated me to be who I am today. I listened to voices say, I am going to sing until my day is done. I am going to sing until the setting of the sun. I will sing of sorrow, there is no tomorrow. I'm going to sing until my day is done. What were they singing? That they were slaves, enslaved, and they had no tomorrow. And they would just sing and walk until they die. Born in poverty, grew in poverty, aged in poverty, and died in poverty. I eventually came back to the Gambia and went to the hinterland and saw people walking barefooted, working with the farm, living in huts, drinking from wells. Then I asked myself the question, why did we become independent in the first place? Pdois came into being because of the realization that our people, the vast majority, had no destiny to be proud of. We decided to engage the Gambian population, for them to know that the reason why they were poor is because of ignorance. that there was injustice and poverty because of ignorance. So our duty was to educate the people in order for them to know what they own. We were convinced that once they knew what they owned, they will know how to entrust it to people who will ensure that they live in liberty, dignity, and prosperity. And that is why we are here today, to continue that education, that enlightenment, so that the Gambian people will take charge of their destiny to be new Gambians who will be able to build a new Gambia free from poverty, injustice, and ignorance. The transformative agenda has a preamble. It was my intention to read it word by word so that history will document it. But that is the spirit. Wherever you hear a preamble in a constitution or in a manifesto, that is the spirit of the constitution. That is the spirit of the manifesto. It reflects your true situation. It reflects your suffering and what ought to be done to be able to address it. We, as a people, had always felt that we were voiceless, that we were powerless, that we were helpless, that we were hopeless. Every single day that is registered in the ears of the young person who is sitting there unemployed, that you are hopeless. A child who came into this world innocent, and now every day it is drummed up in his or her ears that he or she is hopeless. And that person will tell you, I will go for employment. 600,000 people will apply, but I will not even be considered. I am helpless. If you don't know someone, you will not be able to get the job. It is who you know, not what you know. That's what you say. That's what you say every day. For 56 years, since Gambia attained the right to self-determination. Pdois has come to put that to an end. And that's what's reflected in the preamble. Every day you hear people that I am afraid that if I say this, I may lose my job, or I will not get a job, or somebody will not consider me. That therefore I am voiceless. That I have shouted about my problem. I've shouted about my poverty. But nobody is there for me. And this is constantly what people say. I am powerless. For centuries, our people who were enslaved were voiceless, powerless, hopeless, and helpless, according to them. We say we are liberated today, And every single day you hear people, I am voiceless, I am powerless, I am helpless, I'm hopeless. That's why Pdois had to capture the state of our people in its preamble. And when you read it, you will see word for word what I have said. How do we address that problem? Is what we are here to address. We start from the fact that we are ignorant. That's not really an insult. It includes me. And that we must search for ourselves, within ourselves, who we are. That is the journey that we must enter today. Who are we? And no one should leave here today without knowing who you are. Our journey tells us that from the 10th of August 1889, the British and the French met and carved what is now called the Gambia. And after that date, they struggled very hard to colonize us by fighting those who opposed them until they defeated them. That by 1902, they were able to entrench themselves. And then we became colonized. We became subjects. We were no longer citizens because we had no country. We were dominated. And our ancestors had to fight for liberation. 1920, the National Congress of British West Africa meant no taxation without representation. That people were paying taxes, it was not serving their interests. They were still poor, no schools, no hospitals, no roads, no telecommunication systems for them. And therefore, it was worthless for them to pay those taxes. So said they would struggle to take charge of their country so that the money they paid in the national coffers will be entrusted to representatives who will manage it in their interest. That is what that slogan means. No taxation without representation. That taxation should go with representation. If I pay my money, I should entrust it to people whom I can put in office or remove from office. That is democracy. So if somebody tell you democracy is a European concept, an American concept, that is cultivating ignorance. You pay your money into the coffers of the state. Women every day at the marketplaces pay money. It goes into the coffers of the council. Why? That should return to become services for them. And that is why we have representatives. That is what democracy is all about. Your wealth should come back to you to provide you with services that will eradicate your poverty. And that is to be found in the transformative agenda. It says that that struggle to have representative institutions that will manage our wealth went in 1942 for one seat to be allowed to be based on elective principle for our people to go and elect one representative in the legislative council. By 1960, all Gambians started to vote. But then we voted for people who will go ultimately into a House of Representatives. But still we have a governor who was in control of the society and the economy. Our representatives were still powerless. We had not attained the right to self-determination and independence. We still could not determine our manner of government. And that is why the struggle had to continue until in 1963 we attained internal self-government, which means that our authorities could speak and be heard, but they could not represent us with other countries in the world. And that internal self-government on the 4th of October 1963 taught us that we still have some steps to take to be the architects of our own destiny. That is why in 1965 we had to move further to have both internal self-government and external self-government, where those we elected could now go outside at the United Nations, OAU, other international bodies to be able to represent us. But still, we had a Governor General, and Her Majesty was still the executive, just like you have a president today. Her Majesty was the executive in our country under the 1965 Constitution. It meant that we had internal and external self-government, but we had no sovereignty. We had no sovereignty. We still owed allegiance, obedience, and adherence to a foreign power. When our representatives prepare a bill and pass it, it must go to the governor for his assent before it became law in the country. We had a referendum in November 1965, but it failed because nobody educated the people to know that we were struggling to take charge of our destiny so that we will not owe any allegiance to any foreign power or state. That was not clear to our people. It was on the 24th of April, 1970, 51 years ago, that we became a republic. Today we are here to tell you, as the manifesto says, that every citizen of a republic has a contract with nation and people. You will either fulfill that contract and then you will be honored and absolved, or betray the contract and be condemned by history to live in poverty until you die in poverty. We can only live in liberty, dignity, and prosperity if we fulfill that contract. And for 51 years, for some, because of interest, and for others, because of ignorance, the vast majority of Gambian people have been betraying that contract. That is why we've been living in poverty. That is why injustice prevails. And the manifesto is challenging all of you to put an end to that betrayal, to take back what belongs to us, that we are owners of power, we are owners of the wealth of this land. 100 nautical miles of our exclusive economic zone belong to us. We can fish there. We can search what is there to be able to produce electricity in order to live in prosperity. 12 nautical miles out in the sea is our territorial waters. Whether it's China, whether it's America, any powerful nation, you dare not enter our waters without our authorization. We should not allow anybody to go there and pollute it. We can punish you. Fish there, we can punish you unless we give you the license to do so. That is our homeland. It belongs to us. The territorial waters of this country also has a contiguous zone of 24 nautical miles. It belongs to us. Why do we live without fish to feed ourselves when we have a whole ocean that belongs to us? We own the waters. Whatever is there belongs to us. We are wealthy, but we are hungry. Why? We are wealthy, but we are hungry. Why? Because we have betrayed the contract. We have betrayed the contract, either because of ignorance or because of interest. They tell us that we have a territory of 11,285 square kilometers. And they teach us that lesson during our time in school, during your time in school. But it is wrong. Our borders are still not defined. And for 56 years, no effort has been made to make that a reality, to define our borders, so that we know that this is what we own, that nobody can cross our territory without our authorization. We are saying that within 6 months of a Pdois administration, we will get the historiographers, cadastral mappers together, because Pdois is saying we will create an expert bank. Knowledgeable Gambians will be mobilized and turned into an expert bank. And the knowledge we have and the knowledge they have will put it together and build the destiny that we deserve. We will define our borders within 6 months of a Pdois administration. The airspace belongs to us. Nobody should occupy our airspace without our authorization. Land, air, sea, all belong to us. But who thinks about it? Just a year ago, in our law books, what Gambia owned as a contiguous code was put at 18 nautical miles. Because our leaders did not take their time to know that the world has changed. The world gave us 24 nautical miles. Still in our law books, we had 18 nautical miles. It is recently that the National Assembly considered that to ensure that our property is not by our own laws because of ignorance that had prevented us from truly defining our borders and ensure that in our school system, our children are taught what belongs to us. That is why Toy is talking about a new political agenda, a transformative political agenda, where we'll come up with the Constitution of the Third Republic that will define and incorporate what we own, the size of our territory, where is air, land, and sea. But the contract must continue. We own power. How do we exercise it? Each of us cannot walk alone. That is why we must exercise power together. To exercise power is what state is all about. The state is an instrument of power. Government is an instrument of power. National Assembly is an instrument of power. Judiciary is an instrument of power. We are talking about authority. That authority belongs to us. When we entrust it to a president, we say that is the VI. We become the least important persons. The people we entrust with our power becomes the very important persons because of our ignorance. We entrust that power to them to serve us, and that's why we must put that contract in words. That is why we have a constitution. The constitution is a contract between citizens, all of us. When we establish the constitution of a republic, we are all saying that we are going to create a homeland for ourselves. And we will safeguard it so that others will relate to us on the basis of equality. How we are to exist as citizens, we must define and put in a constitution. And through a referendum, we are saying, yes, that is the contract that is fit for us. But nobody involved us in shaping that contract. Until recently, that government started to make us aware that we should in fact be consulted if a constitution is to be promulgated. Limited consultation for 1997, and we are talking about the Constitution of the Third Republic, but we have seen where it ended. Because of what? Even the beginning was not well founded, therefore the end cannot also be well crafted. The beginning should have been for each of us to know that we are the Gambia. Each to know you are the Gambia. Because the sovereignty of the country resides in you the individual. That's why you have the voter's card. that voter's card is symbolizing your sovereignty, your authority, your power. Why should you wait for anybody to mobilize you to go and get the symbol of your power? Only an ignorant person will wait for another person to go and convince you that you should see yourself as equal to him or her. Each citizen is an embodiment of the authority of this land and is manifested in your vote. And that is why the manifesto is saying that the type of state we are going to establish is the cooperative state. That each individual is a sovereign person and we come together to build a contract to build a nation. And that contract makes us all equal, irrespective of our origin, be it language, ethno-linguistic origin, be it gender, religion, any other status. And that's what the Republic put in its constitution, that sovereignty resides in each of us. So everybody should leave here today and know that you are equal to every other Gambian, and all of you together will build the cooperative state. And that state must be entrusted with our power, and we will have the authority to elect those people who will exercise that authority on our behalf, and they should do so in our interest. If we do that, we are moving forward to become sovereign Gambians. And that is why the transformative agenda is saying we must become new Gambians before we can build a new Gambia. To become the new Gambia, you must know that the authority to manage the affairs of the state belongs to you. And all the wealth of this land belongs to you, and you have your share. And you must demand for that share. Otherwise, others will take it at your expense. The transformative agenda is founded on those principles of building a sovereign republic that will owe no allegiance, obedience, or adherence to any foreign power or state, and to nurture a sovereign Gambian who will not accept to be under the domination of any other human being on the face of the earth. Once we acknowledge that, we will then move to the next stage, that we must build a nation. And the nation must be built on 8 pillars. Those 8 pillars are the economic pillars, political pillars, civil pillars, social pillars, cultural pillars, ecological pillars, continental pillars, international pillars. Listen very carefully. And it will not be long. This is the lunch. We'll give you a good summary of the content. It is now left to you to organize in your communities. You, the young people in the universities and schools and high schools, organize your symposia, organize your workshops and your seminars, and invite our people to come and tell you what is in the transformative agenda for you, so that each of you will understand what you own and how to benefit from it. That's the desire for convening this lodge today. We must have a state, and the state must provide services. To provide services, we need human resources, we need material resources, we need financial resources. Currently, the governments you've had for 56 years do not have at the central bank, in that consolidated fund, enough money to finance your schools, your hospitals, your roads, your housing, your telecommunication, your energy, your water. They do not have that wealth. When we have an ocean, we have minerals under the ground, we have natural resources everywhere, but they will tell you that they have never been able to have enough resources to be able to finance your education and other needs. That they have to borrow to be able to provide that. They will tell you they don't have enough money to build your roads, to provide you with energy, to provide you with a supply. They either have to go and get a loan or get assistance from someone. We must either be borrowers or beggars. For 56 years. But the Constitution says that we are sovereign. And we are sovereign republic. And we are endowed with resources. Then why are we poor? Why is our state poor? It's not because we are poor. The wealth is there. But they have not exercised their brains to know how to harness that wealth to be able to eradicate our poverty. Our disease is the suffering of the poverty of the mind. Illness of the poverty of the mind, not the poverty of resources. We are here today to put an end to that poverty, to ensure that we have mental liberation, to understand the knowledge we need in order to build the country that is fit for us. What is that knowledge? The state, according to the manifesto, must be a cooperative state belonging to all of us in equal measure. And if that state is to operate, it must have service providers. And those service providers must see themselves as servants of the people. They are there to serve the people. They don't serve them because they love them. They serve them because that is the dictate of law, of reason. We are the sovereign people. We are the ones who put wealth in the consolidated fund. It should be utilized to provide us with services, pay those who are service providers, and provide us with the materials that are needed for the services to be delivered. What has been the problem? What does they intend to do differently? Today, if you look at the budget, you will see that we have a state, and we have always had that type of state, that relies on taxation, aids and loans to put money in the consolidated fund controlled by the central bank in order to provide services to our people. They have told us that the current borrowing of the government will require each citizen to carry on his or her head a death burden of $38,000. Even the child who is yet to be born. The over 71 billion state debt must be paid from your pockets. And we had 3 governments that had combined together to make you indebted citizens. And that must be put to an end. How? The transformative agenda says that we can no longer depend on taxation because poor people cannot pay much into our coffers. Where will the money come from? We are saying, look at our ocean. We charge those who violate our waters and they have to pay fines. We get license from those who want to fish our waters. If a state can say that it sympathizes with the poor people to the point that it can take out $845 million to buy sugar, to buy rice, to buy oil, to distribute it to those people. What excuse can that state give that it cannot buy fishing trawlers and put it in our waters to fish? That our people have to wait for people of other nationalities to bring trawlers to our waters, fish from those waters, process it, and take it back to their land to sell, and whatever are the leftovers, they'll give it to our people to consume. What is the logic? For 56 years, how many vessels have been captured on Gambian waters? Even if you had a strategy that every vessel that is captured, you will pay what will enable us to buy a fishing trawler. How many fishing trawlers would we have had by now? Who will dare come to our waters to fish when the trawlers are there fishing? Why would you need to give another foreign power the authority to fish on your waters and in your waters and then pay you license? That is what the transformative agenda is all about. That instead of a consolidated fund at the central bank, we will have a sovereign wealth fund where all the enterprises owned by the government, by the state, will annually pay dividend to that sovereign wealth fund. Rather than a social security, going and buying an Ocean Bay and other hotels. And it will take decades before enough profit could be made to pay back that workers' money. Such money would have been in the sovereign wealth fund to be utilized to build the productive base of our economy. Instead of signing licenses for people to go and mine Patokumkusanya and Karton, and they may not have enough capital, so they'll have to rely on somebody else, maybe, to be able to have capital to start. We're saying, yes, we can assist Gambians who would want to invest, but not at the expense of the state and the people. Instead, we can say, we will invest the 80%. You come and invest the 20%, and we work together. So that the money you made elsewhere will be useful in being injected in the productive base of our economy. Yes, that will be an intelligent way of defending the interests of the people. For many years, mining was taking place. And you hear people talking about a successful First Republic, a successful Second Republic. Where are the fishing vessels of the First Republic and Second Republic? Or a transition? They are nowhere to be found. Where is the investment in mining by the first, second, or a transitional administration? Nowhere to be found. How can you have wealth, harness wealth, to be able to invest in education, invest in health, invest in roads, without the huge loans that countries have been shouldered? That is what Pdois intends to do differently. You own the sea, you own the land, you own the minerals. It should not be exploited at your expense. It must be developed in your interest. That is the difference. Do you agree with that? If you do not agree with that, tell us you don't agree with that. Is there anybody in this hall who does not agree with that? Yet they say that those ideas are above the people, it's not understood by the people. That we are talking about turning Gambia into an old Soviet Union or another country. We have betrayed the contract to our people and our country because of interest. And we can only maintain that interest by keeping our people ignorant, so that they will not entrust their power to those who will utilize it in their interest. The transformative agenda emphasizes that we'll build a productive base, and the productive base will include tourism. We have facts that indicate that up to 239,000 people were supposed to visit the Gambia in 2019. So the potential is clear. But they come for the sun, they come for the beach, and they come for the sea. Or they say all-inclusive tourism. When they come, they just stay in the hotel and they'll do nothing for the people. And those who brought them will take all the money back. Pdois in the transformative agenda is saying that is not the type of economy we are going to tolerate. And those are not the type of visitors we are going to encourage. We will build a country that is democratic, with a proud people, free and prosperous, innovative. They will engage in the arts, whether it's their songs, whether it's their craft, or their way of life and culture of tolerance for our elderly, cooperation among ourselves, happiness that we show, the support we give each other, and tell them, come and see how we live. And we welcome you in a land of peace, where you will enjoy security that you are not enjoying in your own homeland. You will enjoy care and love and smiles that you will not enjoy in your own homeland. But when you come here, 300,000 of you, make sure that you bring along $100 that you will utilize to buy an album that the Gambian has produced, a craft that the Gambian has made, honey that Gambians have made, a product that Gambians have made. So in 1 year, when those tourists come and leave the country, they will leave 1.5 billion in the hands of the Gambian people. Mathematicians calculate 300,000 by $100. You will get 1.5 million. If my calculation is wrong, pardon me, I'm not a mathematician. Samsar, calculate. You are the mathematician. Gambia High School mathematician and physicist. For decades, teaching mathematics and physics, and abandoned all that. For 3-4 decades, sitting on a dry bench, trying to educate the Gambian people. This is what we are saying. That's what the transformative agenda intends to bring for the Gambian people. But we don't have all day. I will summarize very quickly. I'm telling you how rich the transformative agenda is. And those of you who have the means, if you listen to this and you are convinced that this is what we should bring, make sure you make your pledges to get a copy of the transformative agenda at your expense, so that you give us the resources to be able to distribute it to all the Gambian people without expense. Without expense. Because knowledge must be democratized. It must get to the people, but they cannot afford it. Those who believe that they should know must be ready to sacrifice to ensure that they know. We are emphasizing the last phase. What is the connection between this money that we are going to put in the sovereign wealth fund at the central bank? How will it get to you? How will it eradicate your poverty? The transformative agenda has explained it. If we walk the pages of history, and what compelled Pdois to emerge, we read and saw that there was a bank in the Gambia, and that this bank will give loan. They call it the Gambia Commercial and Development Bank. This bank will give loan to the cooperative union. The cooperative union will come to our farmers and give them loans so that they'll be able to buy fertilizer. But because those loans bore interest, the bank is looking for interest, the cooperative union is looking for interest. How will they get the interest? They must buy the crop of the farmer at a cheaper price and sell it at the real price, so that they will recover the difference, and that became their profit which they share at the expense of the farmer. That is why our farmers continue to become poorer and poorer and poorer until the land became depleted. They could no longer afford to buy fertilizer, and they became poorer and poorer, born in poverty, live in poverty, grew in poverty, and died. Centuries, generations, children, grandchildren continued. That chain must be broken. That chain must be broken. That chain must be broken. How? We said we cannot free the people from poverty by building a bank that is driven by profit motive. That is for the private sector. That is for the private sector. You get money from the bank, you invest it, make profit and pay back. Good match. And that's what Pdois intends to do. The private sector will feed the private sector. But we will not allow anybody to go back to our ordinary people and live at their expense or make profit at their expense. What do we intend to do? We are saying we'll create a cooperative bank. And at the level of the central bank, that cooperative bank, all monies that Social Security take from the workers will be deposited in that cooperative bank, where it will be protected. All state enterprises, the monies they make, will be deposited in that cooperative bank. We will ensure that all investment by the state, in trawlers, in anything, in mining, will also be put in a sovereign wealth fund, where it will be deposited, half part of it will be deposited in that cooperative bank. So the sovereign wealth fund, and let me make it clear, the sovereign wealth fund will be the instrument where all public financial resources will be deposited. But along with the sovereign wealth fund, there is the cooperative bank purely established for our people in order to move them from poverty to prosperity. It will do so by ensuring that the farmers will be organized to expand their family farms. And the cooperative bank will give them the fertilizer, give them the seed, give them the farming implement, appropriate farming implement, appropriate technology utilized, in order to engage in large-scale production for the family. And they will be required only to pay what they receive in order to ensure that the wealth they produce will remain in their hands. That is what Pdois have for you. That is what Pdois has in the package. Do you agree? Do you agree for that to be done? They say you don't understand it. But you are saying that you do understand and you do agree. We are saying that it will not stop there. All the farmers will start to benefit from a cooperative bank. But that's not enough. What do you do with the rice? What do you do with the coos? What do you do with the other crops? They must be processed. We've had people saying, let's eat what we grow and grow what we eat. Listen very carefully. If you just eat what you grow and grow what you eat, how are you going to get all the other manufactured foods, etc.? And what are you going to export? How will you buy all the things to come to your land? We must go beyond growing what we eat and eating what we grow. We must grow what we eat and process and export. so that we can earn foreign exchange from other lands and buy what we need from them. But before we grow just what we eat, we must also process, linking agriculture to industry. The transformative agenda is very practical. It establishes 2 stages of industrialization or processing. One with appropriate technology, the other with large-scale industry, which will require for you to go and buy very expensive machines in order to process. That is better done in a very organized fashion, and we'll tell you how. But better done also by the private sector that can accompany the public sector in the way that we will define. It emphasizes that what we must do is the cooperative bank will assist many young people who are sitting down unemployed to be able to get machines to process what comes from the agricultural sector. And the cooperative bank will give them the money to buy those machines. They can operate as cooperatives, they can operate as individuals. But then they will be linked to the agricultural productive base. Many people will be processing the rice, the coos into flour, and many people are now buying flour made out of coos. They say it's healthy, it's good for the body. We have abundant coos to provide all the flour we need and also produce all the bread we need. So you can see the chain. We'll produce the coos. Those young people with their milling machines will mill them, turn them into flour. Then those with bakeries will now come and buy it. And the cooperative bank will also give loans to those people who have those bakeries so that they will also be able to provide the goods and services that we need. This is what we are talking about. We are therefore emphasizing that we can get every Gambian to be productive, either employed by an established institution, like a company we will establish to have fishing trawlers in order to fish our waters, land them on Gambian soil, process them, that will generate employment. Those working with the fishing trawlers will get employment. And the consumption will continue with the distributive trade, and many Gambians will be part of that process. So I must say that that is the agenda, which is well explained and expanded in the manifesto. And because of time, we will not be able to go into it in total. But we hope this would have whet your appetite and interest you to attend any program, be it rallies, anywhere in the country, to be able to get all the details of what we intend to do for you. It's not only about economics. It's also about the state, how we are going to organize it so that you can participate in managing the affairs of the country. We are saying that for the state, each of you will be involved in having the knowledge that is required in order to select your representatives as you should. But then there must be citizenship education. It's not only building the sovereign state, but nurturing the sovereign people. So there will be citizenship education where the Constitution and all the other laws attached to it relevant to show how we should exercise power, such as the electoral laws, will be taught in our school systems as civic education and citizenship education. Not only that, we'll move further up here to create institutions that can scrutinize, criticize, and restrain any misrepresentation. For example, at the level of the executive, we're talking about a new constitution, a constitution of the Third Republic, which will create an organ where the president will also have an advisory and consultative council established by the constitution that will meet the president every month and cabinet every 3 months, so that their concerns will be explained. And they will be constituted by the Muslim councils, the Christian councils, the labor unions, the women organization, the youth organization, all civic organizations, NGOs, their committees and federations, all those institutions of civil society will have representation in that council. And that council also will be giving authority on the new constitution that will be promoting the constitution of the Third Republic. They will be given authority to prepare petitions that they can lay before the National Assembly with the authorization of their council. And the National Assembly will be required to consider those petitions and act in their interest. We are talking about not only government for the people, but government by the people will start to evolve with the type of system that Pdois is calling for. The most important part that I wanted to read word for word and cannot. But I promise you, I will sit down in a quiet room and read word for word what is in this manifesto. And we'll get competent people to translate word for word what is in this manifesto. We promise you that knowledge will be democratized. There will not be a single ignorant person on this land within the next 6 months. But the question that is most important is the question of the youth who are leaving our land, going to foreign land in search of greener pastures. COVID-19 has made it impossible for most of those young people to travel. They are facing their families in poverty. They were the hope. They invested in them, but the investment could not yield fruit. They are being deported. Many people are predicting gloom and doom, that stealing will increase, as if our people were born thieves. Killing will increase, as if our people were born killers. Violence will increase, as if our people were born violent. Those are the words of those who cannot see the future. The words of those who still believe that we will continue to be voiceless and powerless, helpless and hopeless. That is not the destiny of our young people. They are trapped in that trajectory by the betrayal of the contract. What we must do is to understand that unless we fulfill the contract that trajectory will continue. We have a choice. The choice is now to fulfill the contract to nation and people. We must fulfill the contract to nation and people. If we do, Gambia will have a new start. And what is that start? We are saying that under a Pdois administration, if a government can spend 845 million, this is just an example, to buy rice, sugar and oil and give it to the poor, you want to tell me that government cannot give breakfast and lunch to every child that is in school? Is that impossible? The government says, yes, that's what we should do. We will provide lunch and breakfast to every child in school. We are saying, and that's where the emphasis is, and that's why I wanted to read that section, but I cannot now. But you must find out what is there. We are saying that in a country led by a Pdois administration, the child is not only the child of the family. The failure of the child is not only the failure of the family or the failure of the mother. That mother for 9 months suffered for that child. It is unfair to say that that child is now who she is or who he is because of that mother. It is unfair. It is unfair. And we say injustice must stop. That is the greatest injustice ever perpetrated in this country. To blame suffering mothers for the suffering of their children. The transformative agenda affirms that the child is a child of the family, but is also a child of the nation. And the nation has more responsibility in bringing up that child than even the family. Because the family pays taxes to that nation. We cannot put what we own in a common coffers and you come back to us and say, you cannot deliver your responsibility. That is why we are saying, under a Pdois administration, that mother will be protected. Because the protection of that mother is the protection of the future of our homeland. No generation can exist without protecting the person who brings that generation into the world, the next generation into the world. We must therefore have a government that exists for people and not people for government. We are saying, mothers engaged in agriculture, we have shown you exactly what the cooperative bank will do to assist those people who are farmers, those people who are gardeners, those people who are selling. As vendors, as women, you'll be able to benefit from the cooperative bank what you need to establish a productive base to be able to live. Those who are public servants, paid 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. How can you live on that? Are we going to make empty promises? No. Could we change that? Yes. Because if we give breakfast and lunch to a child, we are taking off the burden from you. That's the social development that is in the transformative agenda. Social development. We'll start to take the burden of the parents. And the child will want to go to school because feeding is there for the child. But the parents also must be onboarded. Therefore, we will ensure that there is breakfast and lunch for every working person in the working places. That will reduce the burden and transport for every working place. So in that regard, you will begin to reduce the burden of the working person. That is the system that we call consumption-based welfare. We don't have the money yet to consolidate that as it has been consolidated in the Scandinavian countries, where if you're not working, they will take care of you. Mothers are provided with a lot of support. All is coming from sovereign wealth fund. That's why they're able to do that. We're saying the first year, we're incapable of doing that, arriving at that level. But we'll ensure that we have consumption-based welfare by introducing the schemes. And for the mother, we are saying compulsory 3 months prenatal leave. 3 months compulsory prenatal leave for the working mother. By force, you must go on leave with pay and all the allowances that you need to have. But we must also ensure that the same mother will have 9 months post-natal leave, so that each working mother will have 1 year leave to protect that Gambian child, the child of the nation. That child of the nation will now have possibility of being kept in crèches while the parents are working. 1 year well protected by mother and well breastfed by mother. But now what is the role of the father? We'll say the father will have 9 months, 6 months of reduced working hours after the first year of the child. So that that father will be able to go to the crèches to pick up the child, go to the nursery school to pick up the child, so that the father will be accompanying the child. It is the parent, mother and father, who will determine when the father will take that 6 months. Whether it's after the 2 years of the child, but the years that the parents deem to be years where the child needs protection most. Now I'll move very far to address the youth. We have shown that the child will receive free education, or let's say state-sponsored universal education. I hate the word free because it's provided in a different way. But it will not be a burden to the parent. And all children must go all the way to senior secondary. It will be universal. That will be the basic education of the child. And we are saying that that child will not only be educated academically, but also educated technically, trained technically. So that the children coming to your home will be able to fix your electricity bulb, your sockets, take care of some plumbing, anything that you may need will end up being provided by the children coming from school. They will be taught home craft and home industry, home needs, so that they will be prepared to be able to manage and run a home. You'll find all that in the transformative idea. But what is more important, after finishing school at 18, that child will go for 1 year national service. 1 year national service, where the child will select where to go to work, and the state will provide the food and also the allowance that is needed to buy soap, etc., to be able to live a healthy life, while gaining training and discipline from any area of employment that the child chooses. And after not 1 year of service, the child can enter into employment or move into the tertiary institution to gather any form of knowledge that the child or the young person so desires. Pdois is convinced that with that type of order, the type of violence you are talking about will not happen. The type of killing you are talking about will not happen. The type of hopelessness you are talking about will not happen. We are convinced that with that type of system, a well-organized society will be built. A very disciplined society will be built. And everybody will be prepared for the workforce in order to build a destiny of liberty and prosperity. We have emphasized the issue of security, that in our country, those in the armed forces and the security forces will be seen as service providers, that you have civil service and security service. And all will go through that 1 year service to the state and to the people. And after the 1 year of national service, those who will enter the security forces would have been nurtured to be loyal to people and loyal to nations. And therefore, they will be able to provide the national security that the country deserves. We are saying the whole security network will change. Our borders will have been defined. Our people involved in managing the affairs of our country. And those security forces will be integrated within the people. They'll be able to give them support in order to protect our borders, in order to protect our properties. And they will be given that training to have love of nationality. You complain about going to police station and you have to pay to even take them to the crime scene. We're saying the first task of a Pdois administration is to make every service provider in the security sector mobile. That they will be able to get something they use to be mobile. So therefore the mobile police teams, the mobile immigration teams can police all our borders and all areas and can work together and develop their strategy to be able to move to any crime scene anytime they wish.
Thank you.
So we are convinced that your transformative agenda has all you need to be able to eradicate poverty in this country. You talk about prices, and he is asking me to scale down, and I will do so. And we move to do some translation in our languages so that all will benefit. The emphasis that I would want to make is that the transformative agenda aims to prepare you for a new world where the type of suffering that you are undergoing will be eradicated. And you talk about prices as one of your key problems. We're talking about a cooperative marketing organization that will be established, that will be accompanied by the cooperative bank, so that instead of women at the garden bringing those the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, in the urban areas, from the peri-urban areas. Now that mobile van, refrigerated van, will be supported by the cooperative bank to come to your garden and purchase what you have. Then in the urban areas, every street, a database will be built. Those women, men who will want to engage in being vendors of agricultural produce will be identified. The cooperative bank will provide you with the resources to be able to get refrigeration or any material that you need, and they will be able to supply you on a daily basis with what you need to be able to sell. And because you are buying at a price which is studied and seen to be in the interest of the larger society, you'll also be selling with that consideration. So you'll begin to balance supply and demand, and you'll be able to control prices, not by imposition, but by knowing what is there to enable everybody to survive and have prosperity. That is precisely what the transformative agenda intends to do. That therefore, in the villages, you will have that cooperative marketing institution which will sell what you need after buying what you are selling in order to ensure that we have prosperity. To conclude, we want to build an African nation that will be at peace with itself, but at peace with the rest of Africa. We want a nation that can be an example to other African countries, so that they can see that we have collective strength if we have cooperative sovereignty, not only of people, but cooperative sovereignty of states. That if we unite together, build an African central bank, an African monetary fund, an African investment bank, an African free continental free trade area, we can work together as an African nation in order to build mighty industries through the collaboration of our private sectors, our public sectors, our cooperative sectors, and our informal sectors. We intend to build a transitional economy which will help those in the private sector to link to private sector financing in the banking system, where you have $1.6 billion annually being traded in foreign exchange, but you will not see it in the productive base. We will ensure that those engaged in the productive base will be able to make use of that wealth to build productive private sectors that will not be exploited. We will ensure that the land of our people, that some are coming and purchasing in order to be able to build tourist infrastructure, that will no longer happen. No state land will be sold again under Pdois administration. No sale of state land. They'll be turned into low-cost housing for the people. They'll be turned into productive gardens for our people, productive enterprise for our people. And those who come to invest will be asked to ensure that they build companies where those families with the land will have shares, but they will never lose control of their land. Many things should be said, could be said, but the more I talk, the more I reflect on your concerns and your needs. Conclusion, finally. You are the architects of your destiny. But that is not possible until you fulfill your contract. Take your pen and your tongues and append it on this imaginary contract that we have a Gambian nation and we have a Gambian people that deserves the best. Let us not allow others to come and find us united as a nation. One Gambia, one nation, one people. And then they tell us that no, we are not a people. We should show loyalty to a religious group or to a language grouping or to gender or to age, but not to a nation and people. I must tell you the fact. No religious group has an ocean 200 nautical miles to reap resources from and wealth from. No ethno-linguistic group has an ocean 24 contiguous nautical miles, contiguous zone to draw resources from. There is no gender that has 12 nautical mile territorial sea to draw resources from. None that owns the land that we call the Gambia, the minerals of the Gambia. Is there any ethno-linguistic group that says that it owns all the minerals of the Gambia? Does that exist? No. Religious group? No. Age? No. Gender? No. Everything is owned by the Gambian people. If you allow others to say secede from the nation and you transform yourself into a group and build a sense of belonging to that group, you are depriving yourself of the wealth that belongs to you and join a group that has no wealth for you, no land for you, no sea for you, no airspace for you. You would have again betrayed the contract and you will continue to live in poverty from the cradle to the grave. So if we want to free ourselves from that poverty, from that injustice, from that ignorance, let us decide today to take our thumb and our pen to sign that contract that as of today, I am a sovereign Gambian. I am a new Gambian. And I have the duty to build a new Gambia where all of us will exist in peace, unity, to ensure that we build a nation, a land of liberty, dignity, and prosperity. That is what we are here today to sign and to print and respect and defend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Khalifa Salah. You've heard him, and he made a promise that the transformative agenda, which is going to serve as the Pdois manifesto, would be explained in detail at your bantabas, at your villages, using all means of the social media to make the transformative agenda understood. Well, it becomes your material. It would serve as the tool that we will rely on to bring about the transformation of the society. Next on the agenda is to have an interlude of music, and then Khalifa will continue his presentation in national languages. Lu ñoo def rek léegi mooy ne ñu am